just yet. So why don't we just talk about the whole 5G thing? Because you said this is the hottest topic. I certainly see that as well with my own audience, including, you know, friends who will say that they moved to a new location and then they started feeling really sick. So as everything from having sleeping problems, being achy, an autoimmune flare-up happening, and then they discovered that they, you know, like half a kilometer, so that would be like quarter of a mile away from their house, there is a 5G tower that just been put up. So this is, for example, a friend in Seattle. And, you know, so the placebo effect isn't there, right? Because she didn't know that the tower was there. It's a different thing when people tell themselves there's a tower here and it's going to make me sick. So, you know, placebo is an incredibly powerful phenomenon, right? But, you know, so there is that, but it also could be a total coincidence. Someone like her might be feeling bad because of other circumstances. So let's maybe dive in a little bit, share with us like what's going on with 5G. Why is there such a big opposition against it in European countries and parts in the United States? Like I know Marin County, North California banned 5G so far. So tell us a little bit like what's going on.
Well, it's a huge debate right now. So for the first debate is, are EMFs safe at all? Right? If you ask the government, most cancer organizations, nonprofits, so the official messaging right now is that 2G, 3G, 4G, so it means second generation, third generation, and fourth generation wireless networks, which is basically what we have in every city, it's perfectly safe. So that's the first issue, because not all scientists agree with that. In fact, there are hundreds of scientists worldwide that say, no, we already have a problem. And then you have doctors, functional medicine practitioners who say, well, even at these levels that are said to be safe, I see people who have sleep problems, who have depression, anxiety, developmental delay in children. So there are a lot of symptoms that are seen in medical literature, and in Europe, they're way more ahead of us when it comes to minimizing these risks. For example, France is not taking any chances. They banned in 2015 Wi-Fi in nurseries just because of the uncertainty of what it's doing to our body. So that's everything before 5G, right? So there's already a debate. We're not sure, should we reduce the levels? A lot of countries are doing that in Europe. But in North America, you know, especially I would say in the US, that's more precise because Canada is way behind. But in the US, there's a strong money incentive. We want to be first in this technological age, so we want to roll 5G. So what's happening is that regulators at the governmental level and then industry people who want to make money because it's a huge business opportunity are really pushing the install of this 5G network. Why is it a problem? First, these new signals that we're going to use to the entire population have never been tested. There's not one study that's studying these signals, whereas for 3G and 4G, we have a ton of studies. We have thousands. Some show effects, some don't show effects, but it's still concerning. It's concerning enough that France and Belgium and China and Russia and so many countries are taking action, kind of saying we should lower the levels, right? Just in case we're rolling a technology to everyone that might be a carcinogen, for example. And a lot of scientists are looking at the data at the moment and say, yeah, it probably increases cancer risk. So the problem is untested technology. And then you talked about towers. Well, with 4G, we had a few towers every square mile. Now with 5G, it is a very high power, very high speed. So users that are excited about HD videos could be happier, but it is also an antenna densification question where you're going to have one new antenna minimum every block. And every 3 to 12 homes in residential areas, that's a plan. So you walk in the street, and instead of, let's say, having a 4G antenna was more sending the signal 270 degrees, sending the signal, and then your cell phone happens to pick up the signal. 5G is way more directional. So imagine the tower is pointing at your cell phone and trying to send you this data super fast. Well, if you turn around the corner of a block, now you're not seen by the tower, so you need a new tower, right? So it's always kind of switching from one tower to another. So this technology, in theory, is good if you really love technology and download speed. However, it comes with people living near antennas. And we know in a lot of studies that people who live the closer you live to an antenna, the more of these symptoms that you named, insomnia, fatigue, depression, anxiety, memory lapses, the more symptoms you see. So it's probably, maybe some people are afraid of the tower and get these effects, but a lot of people, as you mentioned, realize that first, I don't feel well in this space, and then they realize there's a 5G tower or even 4G tower, but a very close proximity is especially an issue. So this is why we're seeing such a position, in Belgium.
So let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Is it the proximity of the tower that is part of the problem, or is it the frequency that is operating? Is the frequency different from 3G and 4G?
Yes, it's the frequency, and then it's also how chaotic a signal is. In nature, you have natural EMFs. The sun, you have natural magnetism from the planet, but the signal goes like this. It is very harmonious. So this is what our biology is accustomed to. When you go like this, and it goes all over the place, and this is a cell phone signal, it is very chaotic to cells, and this is what causes oxidative stress. This is what depletes your cellular energy, your mitochondrial energy, and depletes your antioxidants reserves. This is why it's so hard for people in high EMF environments, or at least that's what functional medicine practitioners tell me when they become aware of EMFs, is it's hard to heal. You're always under stress. You're always getting attacked by something, just like trying to be extremely healthy, but still smoking or still eating McDonald's. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. It's kind of dragging you as you try to move forward on your health journey. You're kind of taking 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. So this is really the problem. So 5G signals, because it is more sophisticated, it is more complicated, it is therefore more chaotic. And the truth is, biologists think that 5G signal, even at lower levels, might be more harmful for human biology for this reason, but they don't know. Why do they don't know? We don't have one study, so we cannot conclude that this is the case. However, the indications are there that it's probably even more stressful to your entire body on all levels.
So there's been no one area anywhere in the world that's just been testing 5G and seeing over long term what exactly does it do to the human body.
Zero studies. Zero. So we barely have studies on the long-term effect of 4G. And even Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi has barely has been around for very widespread use, 10 years, maybe 15 in certain areas, but mostly 10. And we barely have sufficient data on what it's doing, and it's not been studied. So the long-term effects of EMFs, period, are not known because we are the first generation to be exposed 24/7. So people who claim, well, there's uncertainty and there's no problem, well, it's bizarre. In reality, what other countries are doing is looking at the same science that we have, and there is uncertainty. Like, what's the danger? Is it huge? Is it small? What is the right dose of EMFs that we should get? We don't know these things, right?
This kind of reminds me of BPAs, right?
Yeah.
The hippies were complaining about BPAs 10 years ago. And then it took the FDA 10 years to finally discover, going, oh, it's carcinogenic, of course, right? So I think the lesson from something like BPA, which is so close to so many people, and it impacts our hormones in such a big way and such a close topic in our community, is that they go and introduce a product or a technology or a product or a chemical, and then see what happens, right? In Europe, it's changing, but in Europe in the past, it used to be like, it's not considered safe until it's tested. In the United States, it's like, we introduce it and see what happens. And meantime, test it, and 10 years later, we find out that it's highly carcinogenic, right?
It's true.
And the joke, of course, on BPAs is the fact that now they put in BPF and BPA, BPS and BPF, and it turns out they are even more carcinogenic than BPAs. But that's another conversation altogether.
Yeah.
what's also interesting, tell me, what is the, one of the things that at least I knew as a kid was that we were always like, remember my parents always used to say, like, we would never want to spend a vacation or be in a place when there is high voltage electrical, those power, these
The
places
power
with
lines. Yeah.
power lines. That's right. And especially when they congregate together. And
yeah,
that's, and now as an adult, I've seen studies on that, like how hugely carcinogenic that is. That kind of is that kind of electrical, is that kind of radiation anywhere similar to the 5G? Can that be compared at all?
Well, the biological effects might actually, the same mechanisms might be at play. That's what biologists think. So if you're exposed to a power line, you would be exposed to a type of EMF called magnetic fields. Usually it will be 60 hertz in North America and 50 hertz frequency in Europe. So the frequency is extremely low. However, it is still foreign to the human body. It is still, let's say, artificial EMFs versus natural EMFs. That is any solar radiation, what we get from space. We get even gamma rays from space. So a lot of people get lost in this debate and say, well, we get blasted from space anyway, and your banana emits radiation. That's kind of, and that's not a scientific thing to do. It's different types of radiation have different effects on biology. And the question is, what happens when you play with this environment? So, for example, with power lines, it's still unclear and debated, but there's been a link in science with leukemia in children who live closer to power lines. I've also seen a few studies about Alzheimer risks getting higher the more you live to these high voltage power lines. And not to make everyone run in fear, I'm not talking about necessarily any power line that's in your street, but the very high voltage power line, like the things that are way above your house. And if your house is right underneath, well, you have a lot of people who just feel terrible. So I don't think it's a good idea to live extremely close to these. But yeah.
Awesome. So, so hey, you guys. So this is a Q&A section time. Do pop your questions over when we have Nick live here. And if you're watching this on replay, then pop your question and we'll either forward it to Nick or and see whether he has a moment to come over and answer them later. So, what can we do? I think that is the biggest question. Let's just assume that nothing is safe until it's proven to be safe, right? And so, especially people who are more sensitive. And by the way, the friend that I'm talking about in Seattle, she felt even more so after the death of her kid, who was 12 years old, who died in a car accident that was caused by her ex-husband. And it was a very tragic event. And with other kids, there were other kids in the car, and a couple of them died, and others are still in coma. So you can just imagine the incredible stress that a mother goes through. I mean, you as a father, anybody who is a parent would understand that.
Yeah, it's.
And so her, so that sensitivity to the 5G became even more apparent after the stressful time, which is, stress a lot of times amplifies our health issues anyway. So whether you live in a 5G or you might be at a risk of living in a 5G soon, what can we do?
Sure. The number one thing is to remember that you still have control over a large sum of your cumulative EMF exposure. How you handle your cell phone. What do you do at home? Which devices that are emitting these EMFs are you purchasing and paying for and putting in your bedroom and in your home? This still matters, right? To some extent. If you have a 5G tower that you can literally touch with your hand, maybe now you're exposed to an external source. And if it's making you sick, well, it's the same advice that someone sick from mold illness would get. If you're in a very moldy home, sometimes you just have to move out because your environment is making you sick and keeping you sick, right? So that's one extreme. But not everyone will be exposed to that. So regardless of the technology outside, the course we've created is really focused on, okay, well, what can you do about it? So for example, how you handle your phone is very important. We recommend, for example, creating distance between your phone and your head and your phone and your body at all times, except if it's on airplane mode. So the first thing is 1 foot distance from the head. So you can use speakerphone, you can use earbuds. There's one type of earbuds that's even safer called the air tube headset that has low radiation and doesn't conduct the signal from your cell phone. So it's a technicality, but it's even better. We talk about it in the course. Another thing is a lot of women wear their cell phone in the bra, right? And a lot of men in the pocket.
Do women really do that? I know
they do that. They do that. It's very, very common, more common than you think. So there are a few studies and a few cancer cases where women got tumors that really were right underneath the antenna of cell phones that they kept in the bra for several years.
I've seen those scans. Unbelievable.
It's very concerning. And a lot of people still say in science, oh, it's inconsistent data and what so if you should not put it next to your head, if it's a class 2B carcinogen, soon to be 2A or 1, you should probably not put it near your testes or bra or heart. I mean, some people put it in their shirt pocket, right? So right there, you just have like something that's a basic caution that I encourage everyone to take. When it comes to the cell phone, especially at night, you don't want to have it near your head. You want it in airplane mode or completely off. And if you have to expect a call, I understand a lot of parents might be listening to that. Well, I have teenagers, Nick, so do you expect me to not kind of have my phone in case of emergency? In that case, put it as far away as possible. So this is my bedroom. I would put it like the other corner, plugged in, charging, and then ready to receive a call, but not near the head, right? It's creating distance as much as possible. And maybe one thing I could add about the home is really the Wi-Fi routers. This thing is a hot potato of an EMF emitting source. I've seen people and heard from people who have taken our course who are health coaches or MDs even, who see patients that can't sleep. They discover that, well, the Wi-Fi router is in their bedroom, sometimes under the bed, in a closet, these kind of things, or the closet of a child, right? Where the child has sleep issues or wakes up in the middle of the night randomly. It affects sleep in a very detrimental fashion. And you just have to try it for yourself for a few nights. That's something we shared in the PDF that if you downloaded it, it's part of the 5-day cell phone challenge. So just telling people to turn off their cell phone for 5 days, most people send us like, hey, Nick, thanks for the tip. I sleep better. So if you just sleep better, turning one source of EMF off at night, imagine what can happen if you really take it seriously and clean up the environment. It's tremendous.
And I really like what you said about managing the amounts of EMF and radiation in the house rather than be obsessing about every single thing, because that just kills you, you know, just the anxiety itself that it creates of being obsessed about everything that can be creating EMF, and you know, and the whole 5G thing. It's just, I really like what you're saying. It's about just reducing the overall load in your house. So
that's true. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the program. Who is that for? What do you teach there that you haven't taught in the workshop? Like what do you go deep on and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we really appeal to, this is a professional level course, right? So it's not a course where it takes there's 12 hours of education, and it is a course for concerned individuals, but also for health professionals of all levels. So we have different types of people who take the course. One of them is the health coach, acupuncturist, chiropractor, who are seeing clients come in. Sometimes they cannot figure out what is ailing them or why they can't heal, or maybe the protocols that they're using are kind of slowing down all of a sudden because of the environmental load. And for sure, there's more chemicals than ever, but also more EMFs. It's just that most practitioners are not aware of it, and they don't know really what questions to ask, what to look for, what the symptoms of EMF overexposure are. So this is really why it appeals to them. And then we have people who we want to educate themselves, who are non-practitioners, who have asked us to open the course to everyone, and we did. And I was just not happy to keep it just for professionals. I didn't see really the point. And we have people, for example, that feel these effects themselves, that are, let's say, electrosensitive, that have been taking the course because it's their illness, so just like if you have autoimmunity, you probably want to take a high level course on celiac disease, right? Well, the same thing is true if you feel these effects, or if you live in a city where 5G is being installed and you fear that some of your symptoms might be related to EMFs. That's also something. And then we have also EMF consultant professionals, so people from this space who are taking it. But overall, it's really a course for people who want the complete solution, and so what to do about it, but including also, for example, module 5 is about the EMF protocol from Dr. Klinghardt. Dr. Klinghardt is a very prestigious doctor that has joined as an official teacher in the course, and he's teaching, for example, what supplements to take if you feel electrosensitive, what diet can support or actually reduce these effects. And so it's a very complete look at the EMF problem. So if you know nothing about EMFs, you can literally start there, and by the end, you'll know, well, for sure more than your doctor, but also you'll know the useful things about the EMFs, really what to do about it. So it's a very applied course as well.
Yeah. So it says, okay, so yeah, we have a lot of people following us who are chiropractors, a lot of health coaches, and this is a really great toolkit to add on to somebody's practice, right? Just to talk about it in a meaningful way, not just going like, oh, 5G is bad for you, but actually having
exactly
the knowledge, the intelligence of talking about it in an intelligent way, So
yes, and also screening for it. So sometimes practitioners, I feel a little bit lost about what questions to ask. For sure, like, okay, how do you use your cell phone, or do you have a cell phone near your head at night? That's good. That's a start, right? But at the same time, we do have a complete EMF questionnaire that they can literally print and have as a handout in their practice, where if you see someone who clearly is not, like, there's something wrong, like something really keeping them down, and you feel their sensitivity, they can go through the symptoms. They can literally list everything that is wireless in their home. And then you can say, okay, well, maybe you shouldn't have 27 wireless devices in your home right now. And you can help them reduce, and then you can see the before and after. So it's really, I think the topic is pretty much the same right now in understanding from functional medicine practitioners that MTHFR or even celiac disease was 10, 15 years ago. Not a lot of people were talking about it. Not a lot of people were educated about it. So what happens is that you see someone, you try to have them do this and that, and yes, the results are okay, but you feel like there's still something. And these topics had to be tackled. I know Ben Lynch was a pioneer for MTHFR. So what I'm trying to do with the best experts in the world is tackle EMFs on the clinical side and really give you the tools that you need. After this course, you don't need really to Google around anymore. This is exactly what in medicine is true at the moment, and it's being updated as we learn more.
Yeah, that's so powerful what you said earlier. Like we talked a little bit before we went live about, when you start Googling, that's what, in fact, well, I have one question that I want to ask you. This is from, that just came in. It says, is it true that aloe plants can absorb EMF?
Any plants can absorb EMFs. In fact, the industry, when they set up 5G towers, they had a hard time figuring out how is it that we're going to get past trees, or even in rain situations. While it's raining, it is harder for these are microwave signals, and they get absorbed by water as a priority. So if you have a lot of plants in your environment, it will, I guess, slightly decrease the levels of EMF. So another good reason to have a lot of plants at home.
So yeah. I have a question here this is like totally just popped out at me.
Yeah.
One of my frustrations of traveling, I know you travel the world a lot, and and our work can take us anywhere. You can sit in Bali or be in Japan or sit in Nigeria, right? And work. That's the cool thing about our work. But the thing that I came to really dislike about it is the fact that internet just sucks around different places. It's very unpredictable, and especially when you have, like today, like to have to show up on a call. It's incredibly paralyzing. And I remember being in Italy, and we were up skiing, and I was just before my book launch, so I was like working for 6 hours a day, and then we would go skiing. I come back and work, and I remember the internet would just keep crapping up on us, right? And this is North Italy, mind you, right? It's supposed to be like the EU, and so I remember going down to the apartment manager, and I'm like, hey, what's up with the internet? Like this is, and she goes, oh yeah, they are, rain is coming, and so that's why we don't have internet. I'm like, what? But then now
Really?
I'm hearing you say about, like, can rain actually do something to?
I think it could. Like heavy rain could probably reduce like the connectivity of an antenna. If it's or even if it's satellite technology, it's also, I know that just cloudy days really block the signal. So yes, it's a good theory. I think it makes sense.
Last question for you, and this is this is Candace is saying, I have seen EMF blocking products, paint, fabrics. I hope the public can be educated on using these types of products going forward. Great, because this was going to be my question. So thank you, Candace, for the comment. Nick, what do you say to that?
Well, a lot of these products are 100% legit, but need to be used in a very specific manner, right? Some people see, for example, they would see a tower through their window and they're like, okay, I'm going to paint the room or put a shield up, but they don't have the professional grade meters to do before and after. So if you do a shielding job that's done poorly, sometimes it can actually increase the levels, because you get, for example, if there's a leak in your shielding job, you could technically concentrate the EMFs inside.
Wow.
And there's no guarantee that it's going to drop off and you have invested all this time and money. So in the course, we talk about basic EMF mitigation, intermediate, and then advanced. The advanced mitigation, we explain what these things are. Yes, there are bed canopies you can put over the bed, and Dr. Klinghardt really recommends those. There is also shielding paint, but all 4 walls are actually 5 walls with the ceiling, and sometimes under the floor. Like it's a large undertaking, and these products can work. However, as a practitioner, it's not really your role at this point to kind of go at the home and do the painting job with them, right? So in that case, we show you how to refer to a professional, an EMF mitigation specialist. So building biologist is one type of professional you can refer to, and the other one is called GeoVital Academy from Austria. But it is a certification where you have practitioners that are GeoVital certified in pretty much or several dozen countries right now. So we really tell you in what situations you want to refer to these professionals, because for the most sensitive people, sometimes these things become essential, but they are an investment. So it really is critical that you know that the job needs to be right, and that they need to hire a survey specialist to come at their home and help them do the job. Or athletes.
So let me ask you, like I see people walking around with their cell phone and they've got this little thing attached to it. It's supposed to reduce the legit, or is that just total BS?
It's very unclear. It's very unclear in science how these work or what these do. There are I'm aware of 40 to 60 companies that have different products, each claim to be the best. I'm probably missing. I think there's probably several hundreds of products worldwide that are being sold right now with different claims of this makes your cell phone safe again. This reduces EMF 99%. I've heard all sorts of things.
I mean, have you ever taken? I mean, you have an EMF reader. I have an EMF reader, but I never really embarked on the whole thing because I don't use my cell phone much. I'm like,
it doesn't make a difference on the EMF reader. That's the thing. These claim to harmonize the signals, right? So the signals are still there, but maybe they are less harmful to biology. The problem is we don't have a meter that would read how harmful or not harmful a signal is. We just know what the levels are. So it's impossible to verify. And most people, some people report less headaches, better energy. I don't feel my cell phone tingling in my hands again. So I think that the effects are, for some of these devices, are clear on the symptoms of EMF exposure, but not necessarily on the damage related to EMF exposure. So it's as if right now, I'm not sure if these products are a Tylenol or are really something root cause that is helping you with the pain. So
Okay.
is it like resveratrol or is it Tylenol? Tylenol would really be masking the symptoms of EMF exposure. And what happens if you take a lot of Tylenol and you have a bad knee? Well, now maybe you go running, you don't feel it, and you pop more and more Tylenol, and your knee is just inflamed. Well, because of that argument, Dr. Klinghardt inside our course said, well, I see patients using these. I see patients reacting less strongly to EMFs. And then the next thing they do is to forget to turn off their Wi-Fi at night. They talk on the cell phone all the time, and they go in high EMF environment and they feel perfectly fine. So it kind of encourages you also, because you have less effects, to expose you more. So there's a lot of caveats with those. And right now, I don't endorse a single of these products for this reason.
Interesting. Okay, awesome. All right. There's more questions that come in. I just can't see them. When we are live on Facebook, it limits the questions that I can see.
Oh, okay.
So let's just maybe revisit those questions. If you guys are watching this on replay, then just come back and post your questions, and then we'll forward that to Nick's team. In the meantime, for those of you who want to go deeper into the program, you're a practitioner, you want to be able to meaningfully and intelligently talk about EMFs, and you want to use it as a tool in your toolbox with your clients, especially those mysterious ones that don't get better, and stop the Googling around. And yeah, it's so true. It's just like, every company has a claim, and it doesn't really know the marketing BS versus the marketing claims versus what we know at this point. It will be really good to differentiate those. The link is, I've already posted it in the comments, so just take a look at that, see whether that's a program that's right for you. Thank you so much, Nick, for being here today. I don't know anyone who knows about that stuff than you do. And in our health space, you're very well respected for being the EMF crazy dude who knows everything. And I'm sure all of us are the ones who are also contributing to your mailbox, asking questions about, like, is this safe? Is that safe? Even for practitioners, I mean, this is all new stuff to us as well, right?
It's true. Yeah, I got a lot of the top functional medicine practitioners are emailing me, asking me about chips and pendants and different things, because there's not a lot of credible information that's easy to find in one place. So it's really why we created the course, and I'm very glad that you're talking about it. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll be happy to recheck questions later if you want.
Yeah, let's do that over the weekend. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you for the work you do. Hey everyone, have a lovely weekend. I'm gonna get on Facebook Live in just a second to talk about me getting off caffeine altogether. That's gonna be another call in just a few minutes. Thank you so much, Nick, and have a great weekend, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.